Welcome from Calhoun County Paranormal Investigators, Seth Olney and his no-good brother, Jesse.
That's right.
Hey,
Don't
guys.
you forget it.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good,
We're
man. How
good.
you?
We're good.
Thank you very much, first off, for coming in. We appreciate it. I'm insanely jealous of you guys for one single reason, and I wanted to bring them here just so I could tell them that. The first time, Seth and I, truth be told, have done one of these interviews before. Not going to shamelessly plug 151, but 151theshow.com. But Jesse, the first time I met you was back in May. You guys were a part of Comic-Con, and that is my dream.
Yeah.
Truth be told, that is my dream, to be able to go to Comic-Con and be on a panel, and you guys did it. So, but no, thank you very much for coming in the studio today.
Hey, you bet.
We enjoy it, and hopefully this is as much fun for me as it is for you guys.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
let's dive right in. Instead of stroking your ego about how jealous I am, let's dive right in. How did you guys get into the paranormal? Because it's not like every day, something comes along and it's like, hey, you know what? Gonna go talk to ghosts for hours upon hours. How did you guys jump into this?
It was definitely something that just kind of came out of nowhere for us as well, because it wasn't something that we ever pursued naturally. It wasn't something that we grew up fascinating or, thinking about or whatever. We ended up at a cemetery when we had went out and spent some time with our friends, and we just were walking through the cemetery and just to see what would happen. We like horror movies and things like that, so we thought, hey, let's see what we can find. And as we walked through the cemetery, I saw a little girl appear in this graveyard late at night. There was no moon. It was pitch black outside. And she had like this Victorian style dress on. You could see through her. She was kind of like this whitish bluish color. And the way she was walking was she was covering ground way quicker than she should have been at the pace that her legs were moving.
I don't know. Have you ever been around a kid before? They move fast.
They do. But this was like uncharacteristically fast.
Okay.
Almost to a point where it seemed like she was floating while she was running.
Okay.
And she got about to the center of the graveyard, almost identically in front of where we were walking towards. And
Real quick, what cemetery was this? Or do you even remember?
It's St. Joseph Cemetery,
St. Joseph's.
Palmer, Iowa.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, just this little thing off the side of a gravel road. And as we're walking towards this, she is just going and going and going. And then she just comes to a complete and utter dead stop. And she turns and she looks at me. And where her eyes should be are these dark black holes. And I was just like frozen in fear. This whole situation felt like an eternity to me. And then she just poofed and whisked away like smoke in the air. And it was only a matter of seconds, the whole entire experience. But for me, it felt like an eternity.
Did you have that feeling of, because that something similar has happened to me, and it was one of those things where it's like, what did I just, like, you can't process it, right?
Exactly. Because after it happened, I was just like, what the heck was that? I was like, holy crap. I think I just saw something. I don't know what it was.
You Scooby-Dooed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And my buddy turns, he's like, you're freaking out, aren't you? I was like, heck yeah, I'm freaking out. Like, I never thought that was possible.
The weird part, too, was obviously, like, we're teenagers. You're going to someone says that, you're like, you're full of crap. Like, you've never experienced that where literally the entire atmosphere changed when he seen this thing. And we all started, like, panicking. And it was just like, we have to leave. We got to get out of here. Yep. And the nail in the coffin.
It's time to go.
It's time to go.
The barbecue is over. Car.
Yep.
Exactly. And the nail in the coffin was, we had that old
Nail in the
school.
coffin.
There it is. Exactly. The nail in the coffin was an old school video camera we had, and it had infrared, and we're like, oh, we're ghost hunters, we're ghostbusters.
Yeah.
And right when he goes, holy crap, I just seen literally this little blur mist goes in front of the camera.
So let me ask you this: was it really holy crap?
It was.
It was.
It was.
Okay. Well, I know you're a good Christian boy, so.
Of course.
So
100%.
okay, so take me through, because that kind of falls into, I always think that there's a few ways that people dive into the paranormal. One, it's just generally curious. It's interesting. It's kind of, hey, this is kind of fun to read about. I want to read more about it. Then you have the people that something unexplained happened. They don't know how to process it. So they either forget about it, move on, never mention it again, or they start reading about it. They start watching shows. Is that kind of where you guys are at?
I'll let Seth take this one because after it happened to me, some things happened to him as well, but then he dove headfirst into all of it. So I'll let him touch on that.
Yeah, no, it was like after he's seen that, it was game on. Like,
really,
we knew that I knew he wasn't lying to me. We seen the video, and I'm like, we got to look into this more. So, I mean, the first step was just to go back out there. And we took numerous trips and didn't have any luck. And then, like, I don't know, it's probably a year later, I see my first ghost out there. And my buddy and I are just sitting in the car.
What did you see?
Yeah, we were sitting in the car waiting for these two. There was him and another guy out in the cemetery. I watched this, like, figure. It was like a brown color. Like, there's no definition to it. You could just kind of see a silhouette float up from behind a gravestone.
Brown.
It was a brown color, and that's the weird part. It was the holy crap.
Was it coffee with cream brown, or
it was like a hint of cream brown? Okay. Yeah.
Let's contemplate murder.
Contemplate.
Brown.
There it is. Okay. There it is.
You guys have seen the coffee meme?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
But it just like floats up, and then it like almost jogs. Like you could see it's something with legs or something move through the air, and then it just shoots down behind another gravestone. And I'm literally frozen. Like, am I seeing this right now? And then my buddy who's in the seat next to me, I just slowly look at him, and he's just bright-eyed, like wide open. I'm like, you just see that? He goes, yeah. And he explained exactly what I seen, and I didn't tell him what I seen.
So from that point, when was that?
Oh, that was 2000.
His was in 2000.
Yeah, that would have been 2002 for me.
So from that point to when did CCPI come around? And at what point were you like, you know what, we need a group?
Yeah, it was actually I'd been away for college, and I had been researching
Where'd you go?
more and more. University of Dubuque. Yeah, and so
So you want to give a shout out to the Dubuque's or
good old Dubuque's? Nah, it's been a long
mascot?
time. Spartan. Yeah,
Good old Dubuque.
Lame.
I know.
Central Dutch. Anyways,
yeah. So I had been, spending a lot of time researching, and I texted, called him, and I said, we need to make a group. This was 2005.
Okay.
I said, we need to quit, screwing around, and we need to put together a
like
group.
how you're editing yourself as you go. I just want to point that out.
I
You're
know.
doing a great
I was like,
job
I was gonna
of it.
go, and yeah. Quit screwing around and come together.
This isn't a basement podcast.
No.
Okay?
And make a group and pursue the paranormal and really make a logo. That's the first thing you do as ghost hunters is you make a logo.
Well, it's logo and wardrobe, right?
Exactly.
We never got as deep into the wardrobe.
Well, logo and T-shirts.
Okay. T-shirts actually came 5 years later.
Really?
Because we just didn't, get into it. But yeah.
Let me ask you this. I mean, when you decide to put a group together, do you do it with the thought of, hey, we're going to go to graveyards or we're going to go to abandoned buildings? Or is it, residents or, going to people's homes? I mean, because that's, hey, we've got a group that wants to come look for ghosts in your house. Sounds a little,
right.
I don't know if I let you guys in the door.
I
don't even know if I let you guys in my driveway at that point.
Exactly. Honestly, it was in the beginning, it was still the adventure.
Okay.
It was just, finding what we could. And then it turned, after a year or two, it turned into more, okay, we want to take residential cases. We want to get more experience. And luckily, it was starting to broaden thanks to Ghost Hunters and stuff like that on TV. So people were more open to it. So then they were, it wasn't as
everybody
insane.
had a ghost group for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep. That was the hipster thing to do.
So, yeah. So
coffee with cream.
Exactly.
I always say that we were not extremely serious until we did our first huge investigation in 2007, and that was Villisca for the first time.
Yep.
So, did you guys? I'm trying to think of the best way to word this. Were you called to Villisca, or did you call them to say, hey, we want to come do this?
We called them.
Okay.
Yeah, we had seen it on some scariest places on earth or something like that. And I was like, dude, this place is in Iowa. Let's see if we can spend the night. And we were able to get in and changed everything.
Because we were always looking for places to go.
Okay.
And I mean, through high school, as our passion grew to seek out the unexplainable, we would talk to our history teacher and things like that, and the people who had lived in the small towns around that community forever since they were kids, and just seeking, give us a graveyard, give us an abandoned house, give us something that we can go and be spooked, but then also look for the paranormal. And so when we stumbled upon the treasure that was Villisca, not realizing that it was within our grasp.
And fake.
And fake, according to B-sox.
Thank you, B-sox.
The look on your face.
If you're watching this on video, you get to enjoy that look. Just its organic value.
Sorry. Yep. Well, okay, let's talk about Villisca a little bit. Everybody kind of knows about Villisca. Sure. And in the state of Iowa, it seems like you keep having these places kind of get a little bit, gain a little traction for fame. But Villisca is always the one right now that everyone's like, that's the haunt. Everybody knows Villisca, axe murder, all this. What was it about Villisca that really, what was that piece of evidence or what was that experience there, whether it was scary or just wow? What was that like for you guys?
Like that defining experience we had at Villisca? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I know you have a story about Villisca.
And I got plenty of other ones too.
But what was that first moment at Villisca where you're like, there is something to this place, that there's legitimately something going on here?
Mm-hmm. I can say what really, in our other investigations, it was always like one thing. One thing would happen and the night was over, nothing else happened.
And was it something that it was... You could probably explain away if you...
Some of it, yeah. Some of it you're like, what the heck? But this... So my first real hardcore experience in that first trip was I'm sitting in a chair and...
Wow.
I know. Stop. The presses. I'm sitting in a chair and I have an EMF detector and it's sitting on the armrest. It's a wooden armrest.
And an EMF, for those who don't know...
It detects electromagnetic fields that supposedly ghosts give off.
And it's for the layman, it's probably... The best way I've heard it just detects energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the energy is. If you hold it up to your cell phone, it's going to go off. If you hold it up to a TV, it's going to go off.
Yep. Right. Yep. So you're in a house that the house didn't have power. And so if you're getting spikes and stuff, that's really different. That's weird.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there, I have my EMF detector. I'm not using it. All of a sudden I look down and it's just spinning. Just by itself, just spinning.
Really?
And I go, hey, stop. And it just literally stops. It doesn't slow down. It just stops. And then I feel like a tug on the bottom of my short leg and just pulls down a little bit. And then I just hear a little girl start singing behind my head. And what's weird too is I was up against a wall and it's literally coming from in the wall. It was right behind my head. And my gosh, dude, my brain couldn't process it. I was freaking out at that moment.
Mm-hmm. The freak out, what I've kind of seen and kind of experienced, the freak out comes later because there's that moment where you're like, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
You kidding me? No.
Exactly.
Holy,
and then it sinks in.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There's actually somewhere there's video of it when it happened. And of course, the video
great
didn't
investigator.
catch it.
Somewhere there's video.
I know. Hey, this was 11 years ago.
2005.
11 years ago.
2007.
Yeah.
11 years ago, 2 kids, 3 wives.
A lot of things have changed.
And it happens, and then all of a sudden.
So Villisca, it freaks you out your first night there.
Yeah, it was great.
How many times have you guys been to Villisca?
8 times.
8 times.
Yep.
And I know, like I talked about a little bit ago, I know you have another story, and that was your last trip to Villisca?
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah, it was. Yep.
And then, so I want to hold that for a second
for sure.
because I want you, I don't want to end the ghost talk just
right,
yet because that story just is crazy.
Yeah.
But, with some of your other investigations, you talked about going to houses, cemeteries. What has been one that was just a lot of fun? That was a really good investigation. We got, good evidence. We had fun.
I would have to say first trip to Farrar. Our B-sox's favorite place.
Okay, truth be told, it's not that I've been to Farrar, and I know I've heard 15 different stories about it. No one's ever been able to tell me, okay, this is the history of this place. Because even with investigators, people have, had 15 different versions of the history of that place.
Right.
And the one time I was there, nothing happened. And I don't want to, and listen, I'm not putting down Farrar.
No.
With paranormal investigations, if you go on them, there are some nights where nothing happens.
Right.
And you'll
Absolutely.
think, man, this place, haunted, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I just had one of those nights at Farrar.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I have that, and then I see one of the TV shows where a guy comes out screaming and shuddering and all this, and I think, come on, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can say I've spent 42 nights in that place, and I've
Get a life, man.
I know. Hey, I used to get paid to go there.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay, so let's talk about Farrar.
Yes.
Up by Farrar, obviously.
Yep.
Kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
It's an old building. Funny enough, my dad used to play basketball in the gymnasium.
Oh, that's awesome.
Really?
That's
yeah,
awesome.
because he grew up around here and went to North Polk, and he went on that investigation with us that night.
Oh, nice.
And he was like, "Yeah, this is weird because, this was a working school, essentially."
Yeah.
So, what is it about Farrar?
Farrar is weird, and as you say, there is no straight history about it. Like all the other places in Iowa that really gain fame have a history, like a written history. This place, no one can explain it. There is no explanation. But our first time there, we thought we were walking in with some lockers closing and some kids laughing, and that's what our night was going to be.
Yep.
Within the first hour, we felt like we were in trouble. Like physically, we felt like we were looking over our shoulders, like we shouldn't be in there.
Yeah.
And I remember
Were the police outside?
No,
not there.
And I remember,
Touche, salesman.
we remember walking down the hall, setting up our equipment, and we thought almost that feeling you have in school, like you didn't have a hall pass or whatever. That's what we felt.
Yep.
And it continued throughout the night, and I remember breaking down, bawling my eyes out for no reason, and it was right after our buddy Johnny Hauser was with us, and he just starts saying all this messed up stuff that he thought happened there. And I was like, dude, why are you saying that? He goes, I don't know. And he was saying abuse and all these things, and I literally just dropped to my knees, and I just started bawling for no reason. And we were so scared. If anybody knows Johnny Hauser is one of the bravest dudes out there. And that dude was frozen. And he had to have me hold his arm and pull him out of that third floor.
You ever fight a volcano?
I can't say that I have.
No, is he?
Oh, no.
That's
no.
my level of brave.
Whoa. That's intense. I'm
Who
done,
are you trying to
man.
convince, us or yourself?
Yeah, why are we even having this show? Let's interview B-sox.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest on our show is B-sox, the bravest man alive.
Fought a volcano once.
Why do you think the
Don't
volcano...
you spin in the studio.
All that volcano news in Hawaii stopped because this man went over and said, no.
Okay, going in and, guy randomly spitting out, nonsense, for lack of a better term. Mm-hmm. And it probably wasn't, but, just from the devil's advocate side of it, you breaking down, that doesn't necessarily say, you know what, haunted.
It doesn't, no.
That means that guy's an a-hole and you couldn't cut it.
No, I completely agree. And the weird thing is I broke down and then it stopped and I had no idea why I was crying. I had no clue.
Okay.
And the biggest thing that happened was we had a ghost box, which some people buy into it, some people don't.
And a ghost box
the ghost box is it's a modified radio, and it just goes through the stations really, really fast.
Yeah, it's seconds.
Yeah, seconds on a station. And you get sentences and things over multiple stations. Somehow they use energy to communicate. Well, we got names, we got more things about this abuse that happened. We got a couple answers that were over 10 stations.
Mm-hmm. Huh.
And after we left that night, we confirmed with the owners that abuse did take place there. We had no idea. And it all came through evidence from what we found that night. There was absolutely like didn't make sense to us, but it was mind blowing.
Jesse, what was your best piece of evidence from Farrar?
I mean, it came from the first time that we were there too. Again, it all started with that feeling of you're in trouble.
Okay.
And myself and our investigator Megan went to the 3rd floor, and we went lights out, and we were probably lights out for maybe a minute. And I was like, we need to turn a light on because I'm absolutely terrified. And she turned the light on, and I'm using my video camera. I had a fully charged battery, and it literally dropped from fully charged down to like 3 minutes remaining on the battery in a second. And I was like, what the heck? I just had a full battery. And it was right when I said that, she saw this young guy appear behind me. He had his hands around my throat. She said the most evil eyes she'd ever seen, ever. And it was just as detailed as like you and me standing in this room. So it didn't look like it was a ghost or anything. It was like a figure, an actual human figure just appeared behind me.
Okay.
And at that moment, I had bright red ring around my neck. I had a hard time breathing. And I mean, I think to a certain degree, I probably had a little bit of a panic attack, if we're being truly honest, thinking back over it. But the corresponding things that happened, we have the battery dying, we have the overwhelming fear that we were feeling and this discomfort, and then to have this light turn on and to have her witness that right in front of her, I didn't actually see it, but to be a part of it was unlike anything that I've ever experienced before. And to already take a night that was quickly getting away from us based on what our expectations were, it just flipped it upside down even more.
Okay. All right. Seth Olney and Jesse Olney, both from CCPI, joining me on The Haunting of KGGO.com. We'll wrap up the paranormal because you guys, CCPI has gone through a little bit of a change, and we'll get to that here in a second. Yeah. But I want to wrap up with kind of a two-part question. Goofiest piece of evidence you've ever had? Like the one that it's like, okay, didn't really think a stripper was going to show up. Okay, and scariest moment, because you have hands down one of the scariest stories I've ever heard. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not overstepping my bounds, one that you were done after that.
Yep.
I'm out.
Nailed it.
All right, so goofiest piece of evidence.
The goofiest I can think of, and I don't know, I can't think of like anything super goofy, but I remember us catching an EVP of a pig. Yes. And it was inside, and
it was literally pig.
It was a ghost pig, and I'm
not
like,
spider pig, ghost pig.
It literally squealed. And I'm like, what is going on? Like,
really?
Yeah, we got it on a voice recorder.
Where was this at?
Farrar.
It was.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now it just whatever.
Yeah, we're all loony birds.
Kids, abuse, pig.
Yeah, we're all just like, do you guys just hear a pig? And I mean, we all heard it. There was probably 5 or 6 of us up on the 3rd floor, and we just all heard this squeal of a pig, clear as day. I think it's still on our YouTube channel.
Yep, yeah, it is.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
CCPI TV on YouTube. Check it out.
CCPI TV on YouTube? Okay.
Yep.
Scariest moment and then scariest moment.
Oh, my gosh. Scariest moment. I would say one of the most
toilet paper
intense moments was... am I getting in trouble for saying another Farrar story?
No, you're fine.
No,
because we're going somewhere else here in a few minutes.
Right. I would say one of the most intense moments is I was sleeping over at Farrar School.
So you dreamed?
Nope. I woke up because it was like very hard to sleep there because it was terrifying.
It's a gym.
And I was on the gym floor, and I hear lockers slamming upstairs.
Okay.
So I kind of I'm like, all right. So I lay back down. Sit back up because I seen something go past me.
Okay.
I sit up, and there was a little boy, solid as you and me, dressed in all white, and he's just slowly walking through the mattresses. There was like 6 of us, 6 mattresses down there, slowly intertwining in between the mattresses. But he's not looking at us. He's not looking at the people. He's looking at the ceiling. And I'm like just freaking out. I'm like, but I'm trying to be quiet, and I'm trying to silently signal one of my friends to wake up. I'm like, come on. And And I remember looking
That
over.
could be a gift.
I look over to my buddy, and so I took my gaze away, and I look back, and the kid's gone.
Okay.
And I still to this day think about that and how insane that was, because I know that was real. I know. Yeah, that was probably my most crazy experience.
And before I get into mine, I want to just mention something, because I know Seth will agree with me that this is one of the more intense things we ever experienced. You'll have to help me with the name of the theater that we premiered the movie at.
Oh, Windsor
Theater
Yeah.
in Hampton, Iowa. So we were investigating this theater, which is where actually we premiered our paranormal documentary, Haunted Iowa.
Okay.
And it was just myself, Seth, and one other guy. And we were allowed to have free popcorn, so we were out in the lobby just chilling, having some popcorn.
Destroying this place.
Oh, we were
Yeah.
destroying it.
And we had the doors to the theater closed. And, dude, I don't know. It was one of the craziest, weirdest, most unique feelings we've ever had in an investigation. It was like that auditorium was full of people. We could feel when the movie finished. We could feel when they all stood up from their seats.
You could hear it. You could
Yeah.
literally. It was real low.
Where's this at again?
It's in Hampton, Iowa.
Hampton,
Or
Iowa. So
Hampton,
north part of the state.
Yep.
Yeah, right
Yep.
off of 35.
Yeah.
And there was just this hustle and bustle of people. And
Let me ask you this: was it around when the time a movie would be like?
Yeah,
because if a 7:00 movie, it usually about 8:39. Would it be kind of in? If it was like the late showing, or
it probably would have been the time that a late showing would have got out.
Yeah.
Depending 10:30, 11 at the latest. But I mean, we've done some pretty crazy things in our tenure, and to stand at the door of a empty theater and be absolutely terrified to open those doors to see what's in there.
that's the worst.
It was bowing out. There, like on occasion, it was three of us watched as literally the doors would like bow out. Like it was people right behind this sucker, and we're frozen solid. Like,
No air conditioning on, no heater on.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, for sake of argument,
No
could it have been
fans.
air pressure or
no, because it was
None.
was it a windy day?
No.
no, none of it was moving at all the entire time we were there.
Is this theater still open?
It is, but they quit letting investigations happen.
What'd you do?
It wasn't
Did you eat
me.
them out of popcorn?
It's possible.
We had 15 years of popcorn saved up. Gone.
Yeah. But that was it was such a unique experience that we don't really talk about a whole lot, but I think it's worth mentioning because it was so
Freaky.
it
It was
just-
insane.
Yeah, it was really
No,
creepy.
see, that's the kind of stuff I like hearing about because probably most people listening to this or watching it have never heard about that place.
Right.
I mean, they
It's
probably
true.
heard Hampton,
Yeah.
Iowa, but the Windsor Theater in Hampton, oh my God, there might be ghosts there.
Right.
I wonder what it would be like, and this is just, spitballing, but in an investigation if you actually ran a movie.
We've done it.
I mean, you'd have to, get around the, power and, if you do sound or whatever, but if you put something on the screen and let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that at a theater in Iowa City.
I mean, yeah, it was a pretty active place.
Again, we were all sitting still, and you had the movie loud enough to where you could hear it, but not to where it would create, problems with audio or, being able to pick up on things. And you heard people sitting in the seats in front of you, the creaking and moving back and forth and resituating yourself, getting comfortable, just normal theater sounds. But there was 4 of us in there, and we're spread to each corner, not moving a muscle. So, it just, I guess that would be referred to more as like a residual kind of experience.
There's an energy there. A lot of people going in and out of a place for time, and a lot of emotion because movies draw out emotion from people.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Exactly.
I probably should have asked you if this was cool to talk about this
of course.
before.
Absolutely.
But I figured since you talked about it at Comic-Con, which I still hate you guys for, you told a story at Comic-Con that involves Villisca.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, it is one of the weirdest, darkest stories I've ever heard. And it was enough for you to say done, correct?
Yes.
When was this? What happened?
Seth, help me with the date. That would have been
2012, spring of
yeah,
2012.
You
spring
had to ask what year it was.
Yeah, spring of 2012. Dude, I've tried to get myself as far away from that night as possible. Yeah, spring of 2012, and it was our last time that we officially investigated Villisca. And we made that pact of we're going to go in there, we're going to go balls to the walls, we're going to push this thing, we're going to be aggressive to a point that we haven't been to before. And
which always pans out well.
Exactly. Exactly.
For those of you at home investigating,
Yeah.
tormenting a house, probably not a great idea.
No.
So
myself and
So Jesse.
Yeah. Allow me to share what happens when you do those things. Myself and two of our investigators, we went to the cellar of the house. And some rumors have it that the killer or killers hid in the cellar waiting for the family to come home. And that's kind of the idea that we played off of. And as we were down there asking questions, creating this environment that we thought would be coaxing to activity, I started to feel this really negative presence. And it kind of started to affect me to the point where we all agreed it'd be best if I just kind of left the cellar for a while. And
leave now.
Yeah, really, because I was getting irritated to the point where I almost hit the female investigator that was down there with us.
Oh, good move.
Yeah. And so my buddy's like, all right, go outside, take a chill pill.
Have a cold beer.
And so it was probably, 10 minutes later, and they're like, all right, we're going to go back down there. And I was like, well, I'm coming with. And they advised me that probably wasn't a good idea. I said, no, I'm not even going to partake. I'm literally going to put myself in a corner, face away from you guys. If something starts affecting me, I'm just going to leave. So we went lights out again down in the cellar, and I'm standing there. And again, I'm still feeling the remnants of this negative energy. Again, you can't even see your hand in front of your face because it's so pitch black down there. But somehow I was able to, adjust my eyes enough to be able to tell that I was looking into a corner, and this massive black snake came out of the wall, and it was slithering on the wall, and it slithered kind of across it horizontally, and then it dropped vertically down towards the ground. And once it hit the ground, it came to my feet, and it started to slither around my feet for a while, which then in turn slithered.
At what point, if a giant black snake comes out of the wall, I leave.
Right.
I'm done.
Right.
Why didn't you leave? Why didn't you?
Because at that point, the best way I can describe it is you're in such a state of disbelief and misunderstanding that you're just entranced by the moment. And the second I saw that, I slowly began to lose control of everything. I couldn't pull myself out of the moment. I couldn't think on my own. I was just transfixed by, there's a giant snake that literally came through a wall and is now slithering itself up my legs.
The mystery of Villisca is solved. It was an anaconda.
Yeah, clearly.
Bingo.
Yeah. And so it's slithering up my legs. It gets to around my knees, and black smoke starts to billow out from the ground that my feet are standing on. And the snake gets higher, the smoke billows a little bit heavier, and it gets up to roughly about the middle of my torso. And the head of the snake wraps around my right shoulder and comes around my left shoulder. And the best description I can give is, if anybody has seen the movie The Passion of the Christ, the way Mel Gibson portrays Satan is a very, very pale white-skinned woman with very masculine features, completely hairless, with a black cloak on. And the closest iteration of that representation is what the snake's head turned into. And that head wrapped around and stared me dead in my face. And I remember distinctly being so terrified by it, but having no control or ability to move out of that moment, that all I did was I just turned my head down towards my right shoulder and just clenched my eyes shut because I was so terrified. And I started to realize I have no control here, and I'm losing every last bit of control I might have. And so I just started praying, and I was like, God, you have to get me out of this situation. I don't know what to do. I'm terrified. Help me. And it was the craziest thing. This little Barney Fife looking red siren that he would throw on top of his police car appeared in my mind, and it started turning, and I heard the classic like fallout shelter alarm going off in my head, and it literally snapped me out of it, and I ran as fast as I could. And my buddy DJ is like, Jesse, what's happening? Where are you going? I said, don't worry about it and don't follow me. And I bust out of that cellar and I ran to the barn outside of the Velisca house, and I sat there by myself for about 10 to 15 minutes roughly. And for that time that I spent alone in that barn, I literally experienced hell in every ounce of its being. I saw people falling through a sky of fire into pits of fire. I saw flesh melting. I saw muscles falling off of bone. I heard screams and cries that still haunt me to this day. And dude, that jacked me up so much. And I sat there like not having any understanding of why this was happening. And Seth came out to the barn. They all decided to take a break, and he noticed the second he walked in that barn that there was something wrong.
Well, yeah, the two from the basement came in, and I was like, "Where's Jesse?" And they're like, something happened. He's out in the barn. So I went out there, and he's literally just sitting in a chair in the middle of the hallway with his pretty much his head in his lap, and he's beet red. And I touch him, he's just so hot. And I'm like, dude, what is wrong? He's like, dude, all I see is hell. All I see is hell. All I see is hell. And I literally picked him up and walked out into the street to get off the property and just said some prayers over him and stuff like that. And it started to cease a little bit. But we just kept him in the street for a while.
You're thinking about it now, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Dude,
I mean, I like I said, I probably should have asked if we can talk about this beforehand.
I'm always open to talking about it.
So and I apologize, is there more to this story? Or did it just kind of trail off, or just kind of evaporated, or
it got to a point, man, where I think about that day or that night, that occurrence, at least once a week, and have since 2012. So that's 6 years. And that coupled with all the other things that we'd experienced, it started to impact relationships with family, with potential dating relationships. And
well, you don't start a relationship with that story. I'm going to tell you that right now. Not to break the tension a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
saw a giant snake come out of a wall.
And then the snake turned into a human head, and then I saw hell for a while.
So,
yeah, it
pizza bagels or nachos?
Yeah, it had a ripple effect, and it just got to a point where I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's if that's something that is able to happen to that severity, I'm so out and I'm so done.
Would you ever go back, or not to Velisca? Because I have a feeling you're never going to step foot in that house again.
I have since then.
You have?
Yeah.
That's actually surprising to me.
Yeah, and that was a very unsettling moment.
It was during the day.
And it was during the day. We were doing a video snippet with another group, and someone was being interviewed, and I was standing at the base of the staircase in the Velisca house, and I just put my hand on Seth's shoulder, and I just gripped his shoulder. And I said, don't let me move because something is calling me upstairs. And he said, what do you mean? I said, dude, there's this little raspy voice saying, Jesse, come upstairs. Jesse. And I was like, it was just calling to me. And I said, dude, it's literally pulling me upstairs. It knows my weakness now. I'm so weak in this house. And so I said, you have to stand behind me and keep me from going up there because something bad's going to happen if I go up there.
Huh.
And that was the last time I was in the house.
Yeah. See that part of the story we didn't get at Comic-Con.
No.
That's interesting. So, Velisca aside, would never go do.
Never.
Even family member says, hey, can you come take a look at something? You're just
Never.
Done.
Done. 100%.
Have you had any experience since then, something just weird happened? If you did, has it been a thing where it's nope, didn't happen?
When my wife and I moved to where we're living now, there was a lot of really weird things happening. When we were unpacking, everything, things would just disappear. And we would search where we placed it. It was gone. We'd go back 2 days later, and it was exactly where we searched 2 days before. Noises. I've had some really messed up dreams. And my point of view and perspective on the paranormal has changed drastically since my experience. And so my number one reaction is I'm getting on my knees and I'm praying about this, and I'm going to plead the blood of Jesus Christ over my apartment, wherever I live and wherever I go, and pray for protection wherever I go, because I know how real the demonic side of this stuff is.
This is The Haunting of KGGO.com, a KGGO.com exclusive. My name is B-sox. Here with CCPI, Seth and Jesse. Yes, just had a reset there. That's all. No big deal. So
let the blood move out of my head.
Well, you tell a story like that, and you can tell when someone kind of goes back to that moment, and it's tough. It's like it's kind of like talking about an old girlfriend, or something. One of those things that really had an impact on you. You go back to it.
Yeah.
At least I could be crazy, but I don't know.
Totally
crazy or
Both.
totally okay. Just want to make
totally
sure.
valid and totally crazy.
Cocktail.
So with that being said, you guys, it sounds like that was that for sure that was the end of your time paranormal investigating.
Yep.
For Seth, did you go on? What?
Yeah, we kept going and did stuff, but we just as life moved on, we just kind of faded away. We got less and less time to do our things, and it's like 1 or 2 investigations a year I get to do now, but I still do it on occasion. So
you're open, like if someone needed something or had something weird going on in their house, could they call you, or is it?
Most of the time with residential, I don't do residential anymore just because I'm not in the field as much.
Okay.
And so, but I do have lots of resources. I know great teams, and I always turn them to the right person. So.
All right. So with that being said, CCPI, which we talked about a little bit ago, has evolved. Is that a good word to use for this?
Yeah.
Has evolved into something different.
Yes. This is B-sox's favorite part.
Because when you first told me, I thought, you're insane. And to quote a friend of mine, how high were you? What's CCPI doing now?
We are Bigfoot hunters.
Seriously,
that's like the best way you can say it.
Yes.
Seriously, you're Bigfoot hunters.
The official word would be cryptozoologists. We go after creatures that are
in Iowa.
In Iowa, yeah.
See, I think that's the part that kind of blows my mind with this because you guys are actually really serious. This isn't a joke. You guys really do investigate Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa just isn't known. It doesn't have that history or those stories of 8 foot tall walking ape man.
Right.
You don't have that, and you don't think of Iowa as that sort of place. But you know what I did think about today? When I was coming in this morning, I was thinking about the interview and thinking about things to talk about, and I looked out over the fields, and something clicked in my head where all of a sudden it wasn't as crazy as I thought because of how much food is grown here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Okay, how, why, and where did you decide? You know what? Squatching.
The first thing I have to say is like when you hear about ghosts in Iowa, they're like, "Oh yeah, cool." And Bigfoot is like, "What? No way, that doesn't make sense."
Exactly. No, it's true.
But as you can see by obviously we're just joking around, but your reaction is like laughing and "Are you high?" That is a majority of people who've experienced Bigfoot, and they don't want to talk about it because it's so insane what they've seen. But it's gone on for decades. This Iowa's had history of Bigfoot, especially like Humboldt area. Mm-hmm. There was at one point in the 70s, half the town had seen a Bigfoot. And I don't know why. I don't know. The 70s was insane for Bigfoot sightings.
Well, yeah, drugs.
Drugs, yeah.
Well, no, it's funny because you say that, and my dad, who was the chief of police of Polk City for a long time, there's 2 different Bigfoot stories around that area. that someone did see something. There was a story of a Bigfoot around Saylorville Lake, that someone saw something, but it's been so long ago that nobody remembers the detail. They just know that someone saw Bigfoot around the lake. The other one was, because there are more bars per capita than churches in Polk City, people would call the police and say, yeah, I saw something out in the woods. So the police would go there, everybody would leave the bar to go home.
Oh.
Gotcha.
So and I think the other thing about it is it's, there's not that deep, dark forest here in Iowa. I mean, there are forests, but I don't think it doesn't feel like there's a forest that if I walk into it, I'm not walking out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So really, at what point did you go, yeah, Bigfoot, let's solve this thing?
Well, we obviously, being into the paranormal, we are all things weird. Like when we were in high school, we searched after a goat man that was supposedly around our.
Once you have a really bad experience with Bigfoot, do you guys move on to UFOs? Or
it's going to take me getting my arms ripped off to.
Well, I'm sure Jesse said at one point, you know what? Paranormal investigating, going to be doing this for a long time.
I did. I said I'd never stop. Well, here we are.
When Bigfoot shows up with a smile.
Yeah. That's what we always ask ourselves. Like, what are we actually going to do when we run into him in the middle of the woods?
I don't think anybody asks themselves that question when when you go investigate anything like, Dingo Boy or Bigfoot or UFO or Ghost. What are you actually going to do when this thing is staring you dead in the eye?
Right.
All I want to do is get a video that's not blurry. That's my main goal. I just want physical evidence of this thing.
Have you always been a fan of Bigfoot, though?
Up until it was about, everybody remembers the old Monster Quest show on, I think it was History.
Yeah, with the eyeball.
Yeah.
In the production pieces.
Yep. So I always thought Bigfoot was a joke, and I started watching Monster Quest, and I was like, man, these guys are really serious. Their stories seem legit. So we started slowly just looking into it. 2009, it would have been 2009. We went into these woods, and we were just going to check out an abandoned Greyhound park. We watched.
I know where this is.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. Can you say where it is? Or?
Yeah, no, it's in Waterloo, Iowa.
Literally on the border of Waterloo and Cedar Falls.
Yep.
It's a lot closer to the highway than you think.
Exactly.
It's right off it.
Right by the highway.
And one thing that had originally drawn us to those woods is some guy in the 70s camped out in those woods, and he told this Bigfoot organization about how he witnessed a Bigfoot come out of the woods, walk down to the river, and then walked back into the woods. So we were interested, so we went to check out those woods.
And again, this is around Marshalltown on the south.
Waterloo.
Or Waterloo, excuse
Waterloo.
me. Yeah,
yep.
Waterloo.
It's in between Waterloo and Cedar Falls.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, while we're out there, we're like, we could walk straight to this abandoned Greyhound park. So we get there late at night, walked right through it, straight to where we were.
Why don't you look for Bigfoot in the day?
Because he's supposedly nocturnal. That's the belief. But
you're like the people that go hunt vampires at night when they're awake.
The thing is, though, we weren't even out looking.
We weren't looking for him that night.
What were you doing out there?
We were going to the abandoned Greyhound park.
Just go check it out.
Yeah, because the only way you
adventure.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't want to
throw some rocks at a wall, break some bottles.
We didn't want to get in trouble, so we went through the woods.
Stuff. Yeah.
So this woods is not that big.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably the size of a decent-sized cornfield, maybe.
Yeah.
If that big.
If that.
Like I said, you can see it from the road.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So we park on one end, walk all the way through. It takes maybe 20 minutes to get through these woods. Get into the Greyhound Park, no problem. Do our thing, chill, explore, whatever. Come back out. We're
naked.
Naked.
We were all naked, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes it okay. You don't hunt Bigfoot unless you're naked.
Right.
Take notes.
Mosquitoes are bad.
5 minutes in, we're confused. We're like, wait a minute.
So it's like sex.
There it is.
Another one of B-sox's expertise.
No. Yeah. Anyways,
Bigfoot. So 5 minutes into this, back going the exact same way we came in, we're confused. We're like, where are we? Which way do we go? And we're all kind of getting agitated, arguing.
Couldn't find the path that we walked on.
We come to this area that was kind of flooded, and Jesse had seen this better than I did because I was off trying to find the trail.
Yeah, so we managed to find the trail, like a walked-on trail enough to be present, and we came across this area that had been flooded over. So the trail actually dipped down into a little bit of a valley, and I use valley very loosely. And so Seth and we were with our cousins. They were all kind of sporadically looking for a place so we could just jump across this water without having to get soaked. Myself and my cousin are standing on the trail, just kind of chatting or whatever. And where we could have continued directly across had the water not been there was there was a big tree that had fallen over at some point in time. And we're just standing there just chatting, and all of a sudden we noticed this big black figure walk up to that tree. And I just stopped and I said,
"Not again."
And I was like,
this was before. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, dude, do you see that? And so we're both just like watching to see what's going to happen, if it's a deer or what the heck it is. And as we watch it, we can see, because again, we're pretty close to the highway, like you mentioned. So the lights from the traffic are reflecting through because the leaves were gone. It was late fall. And it reflected on the eyes of this animal. And they were little red beady eyes. And they were very high up. And right as we kind of started seeing the reflection of the eyes, this thing put a huge arm on the tree that was over the path and just pushed it down out of its way and just looked at us. And so it's kind of like a teeter-totter. So it was like a log laying on another log. And it just pushed it out of the way, and it was just looking at us. And it had these massively broad shoulders, no neck, and this rounded kind of really bad hairdo from the 70s looking head. Basically looked like Seth's shirt. And
I was actually looking at Seth.
Well, that's about enough for me.
And on behalf of CCPI, thank you very much. And so,
sorry.
Me being an idiot, I go, "Oh my gosh, there's a Bigfoot across the path," and literally, and we're like, "What?" And so we start running, and this thing takes its hand off, and I swear to you, dude, that massive tree flipped up and flew through the air.
Wow!
Crashed on the ground. We all jumped through the water.
Loud. Yeah. So loud.
Jumped through the water. Didn't even care at that point. Not even thinking what we're chasing after. We're just running after this thing as fast as we can.
Good plan.
Yeah. The thing that we all took note of. Yeah, the thing that we all took note of is this thing, we're running as quick as we can. And we are listening to this thing mow through the woods. I mean, just hammer through everything that's in its path. And we could distinctly hear one step, two step, one step, two step. And it wasn't pitter patters. It wasn't a quick pace. It was these giant strides. And within 5 seconds, that entire sound that we were listening to crash through the woods was gone.
Weird.
And it literally faded off. It didn't just stop. It was running away so quickly that within 5 seconds, it was completely out of listening distance.
Wow.
So then revert back to Seth when him and our buddy Gert went out the next day during the day.
Well,
good plan.
Yeah. Real quick, though, like I said, it took us like 20 minutes to get through these woods. We were lost in these woods for over 4 hours. We had no idea what was going on.
So Blair Witch.
Yeah, it was Blair Witch. And we were freaked out. And after this all happened, we would hear like a loud footstep here or there, a body go into water. And we're like, okay, we got to get out of here. So finally, we're on this trail. We're like, all right, well, this is it. We walk right out where we came in.
Weird.
At the Greyhound Park. I was like, nope, we're walking the road. F this. Like, we're not. So, yeah, next day we go out and we're just walking through the brush. We went off trail and I find prints going into a body of water. And it's not your, the ones you watch on documentaries where they're like shack size. But it was like I wear a size 13. This was probably a 14.
Okay.
And I have a very wide foot and it was wider than my foot.
Weird.
And it was barefoot. Like there was toes and there was big toes. And it just went into the water.
No way to cast it or anything like that.
No, because
we didn't have that.
We didn't, and I wasn't even prepared. Like we were just starting off. But that was our first introduction to Bigfoot.
Okay, we're running a little long on the tooth, but what's the story with this stick back here? You show up at the studio here, and you brought a stick.
Yes. So late night, we had heard some stuff out in Saylorville about Bigfoot rumors and this and that. We walked a bike trail. We're walking down the way, and we hear the loudest cracking and snapping. And Jesse and our buddy DJ, I'm getting excited here.
I know. I saw your pants.
Our buddy DJ see something very large in gray.
And around Saylorville Lake.
Around Saylorville Lake, yep, on the bike trails.
Do you, real quick, not to hold you up, but which part of the bike trail? Because it wraps around there.
You know where Cherry Glen is? The campground? It's right there.
Right there.
Like,
dude, my
hometown
hometown is Polk City.
Yeah,
so.
you would know, obviously. So yeah, they watched this huge white thing, like take 2 steps across the bike trail. And those bike trails are wide.
Yeah.
Took 2 steps.
You can drive a van on them.
Yes.
No, believe it or not, you can, because my mom did it.
I've done a car.
Because she didn't realize it was a bike trail.
Oh, my goodness.
For that story, you'll have to tune in next week. So anyways.
Yeah. So they see this thing hop across, more or less, and disappear onto the other side. And we're like bamboozled. We don't know what to do at this moment because we're like shocked.
We weren't expecting it. We weren't out there to look for him. We just knew there was possible things.
So we walked up to the area.
Can I see it?
Yeah. We walked up to the area of where we heard these snappings, and that top there was about this high.
Okay, so probably about 6'5" or so.
Yeah, 6'5", 7 feet up. And that top has been like twisted, kind of popped off. Because you can see the bottom where we use like a knife and we cut it off, and we still had to strip it.
And it was a fresh, very fresh branch. And if you ever try to break a branch off of a fresh tree, it's very difficult because there's enough moisture in there and enough elasticity to not break very easily.
And the other weird part is it had this residue on it. And it was like,
here, you can have your stick back.
It had not rained that night. It was dry. It was fall.
Okay.
And there was this like wet just running down the thing. But it wasn't like thick like saliva or anything like that. It was just like a thicker water, if that makes any sense, running down this thing. Obviously, I don't have a lab or somebody I can take like a sample to. But I noticed today, what's weird is this end of the stick and this end were broke the same night. And this end is all browned and weird.
It looks like it's a few years older than the other one.
But it was broke the same night.
Huh.
And that's what's weird to me. And you can still see like some of this white crap on it. And I know. I walk right through these doors. I apologize.
I need to wash my hands. How long ago was this?
This was 2012, I think.
Okay, so the opportunity to do lab work is probably gone.
Right. Yes.
Okay. All right. So Bigfoot in Iowa is a thing.
It is a thing.
Absolutely.
So if people have a story or they want you to come look at something or whatever, how do they get a hold of you guys?
I would say right now, find us on Facebook, and it's just Calhoun County Paranormal Investigators on Facebook. Otherwise, you can just email me, sethalney@gmail.com.
Okay.
And we are in the midst of filming a documentary.
Yeah, I want to hit on that real quick.
Yeah.
What's going on with this?
So we're filming a documentary called Squatch, Iowa, and it is... When we filmed Haunted Iowa, the whole thing was to show people that Iowa's haunted too. And now today, at this time, it's to show that there is Bigfoot here. Mm-hmm. And we are looking for people to talk to. Yep. We want to know people's stories, and we're not going to laugh at you. We truly know. Yeah, I know. B-sox will. We'll keep him in the back.
I've never been on a Bigfoot investigation before.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing it. But so get a hold of you through the
Facebook's probably your best way. You can email me as well.
The Facebook.
Get
a hold of you through Facebook, or you can contact me here at the station.
Yeah.
We'll have the information at the bottom of the page. So when do you think this documentary might come out?
I'm hoping by next summer. That's my
summer of 2019.
Yeah, summer of 2019.
Tentatively.